Well, how you doing? We're back again, CA Mouflage Knives, and we're in here talking about our belt grinder that we built. We put a video up a couple months ago, maybe 3 or 4 months ago, and talked about the belt grinder build, demonstrated it, and what we want to do is come back and just take a look at the belt grinder details, some of the specifics, the dimensions. We had some comments on YouTube video that asked for dimensions or plans. We don't really have a set of plans. And the reason we don't have a set of plans is because we just kind of took a look at a number of different designs on YouTube and kind of developed our own as a result of those. A couple of them influenced it heavily, but we're going to go ahead and just kind of tear down our belt grinder here today and just take some dimensions and give them to you guys so you can take a look if you want to use that. And by all means, this has been a tremendous help in our shop. And so far, 4 or 5 months that we've had it, it's been flawless. No problems at all. Made a couple small minor modifications just for our application here in the shop, in our knife making shop. But other than that, it's been a tremendous help. And we're going to get started here. So just a little bit of review that we had for our belt grinder. We started with a motor, turns 3,450 RPM, and we got that kind of reused off of an old table saw and worked perfect for what we had. We purchased our wheels, our machined wheels here, our drive wheel and our tracking wheel, and our 2 contact wheels out here. Purchased those on eBay and found those for about $105. They've been tremendous, worked flawlessly. And once again, the most important thing with those wheels is that you've got to get them lined up just perfect so you don't have any wobble or chatter in your belt. And that just takes some time, be patient with it. Lay it out on a bench, get yourself a nice straight square line and use your level and measure up once you mark your centers of your wheels, and everything should turn out just right for you there. Other than that, I'm going to break this down a little bit for you here today and kind of go through the details of the dimensions. And if you'd like to use this design, we'd love for you to modify it or use it or modify it however you see fit for your own shop. So I'm going to just slide some things out here, our bench, and take the belt off of it. I'm going to start up here on top, and this top vertical piece with the spring in it. What we're going to do is we're going to pull that out, and we're going to lay that here on the table, and just kind of take some dimensions here. And you'll see that this, by the way, this piece of square tube is 1.5 inch by 1.5 inch square tube, and you can see that the wall on that is, I think this is an 1/8 inch wall is what it is that we used. We found that you probably need to use a little bit heavier wall there, at least 8. Don't use the thin wall, but use like at least 1/8 inch wall, and even some heavier for some 3/16 wall, because you don't want to. There's some stress on it. There's some definitely some leverage against it with the belt on it and the spring pushing against it, and you want to make sure everything's very, very solid. So this dimension here, lengthwise, this is 16 inches. It's actually measures about 16 1/8 for this vertical piece. And then you can see the design that we did here. We used a piece of 2 inch 3/16 wall to design our pivot for our tracking wheel, and threw a bolt through it and just made our own knob here that works that tracking wheel up and down. Pretty simple design there, and just make sure it's able to swing free. You're gonna have to take this corner down with the grinder here so that it can swing free, and you have plenty of room to adjust. The other thing that we had to do there, because this piece has to fit nice and tight inside this other vertical piece, is we had to add some flat stock on here, and we did that just the length of about 9 inches, whatever slides down in here, less the spring, and you got to add that to 2 sides, so that then this piece of 1.5 inches slides down in this piece nice and tight. And you can see that there's very, very little play once it's done. And in fact, it was so tight that we had to grind. Once we did it, we had to grind these surfaces down so that it could slide freely, but we wanted it really, really tight. There's very, very little play, and once you get the belt on, everything tightens up really nice. So that's pretty much the vertical piece. We're going to lay that there, and let me see if I can fish this spring out of here. The spring that we used, just a standard spring you can buy at the hardware store, and the dimensions on the spring, I believe it's 1.25 inch spring, Yeah, about 1 3/8 actually. I think it might the dimensions on it at the store would be 1 1/4, and I think it is by 6. Yeah, 1 1/4 by 6. Just a standard spring you'd buy at an industrial hardware store, and that's plenty of tension, and that works just fine. Our second vertical piece is about 13 1/4 off of the bench. That probably can fluctuate a little bit. We were using some scrap around here, so we didn't really worry about our dimensions too much, but 13 1/4. And as you can see here, this is a piece of 2" by 2" square tube, and it's 3/16 wall. So that's what you want to use for this main structure. And then this next piece off the main structure, it's 8 inches. You see that's 8 inches, and it sits off of the table. It sits about 4 1/4 to the bottom of that piece of square tube off the table. And then this is just a piece that's just a brace to support this as it's welded off of here. Once again, these bolts just to cinch down everything so everything stays in place. The next piece that we can take a look at, we're going to back this off, slide this out. Actually, we'll do both of these. Slide this out. This piece here is the platen, and the platen dimension is 13 3/4. That piece is not real critical as long as it goes in far enough to be able to cinch down and lock up tight. So it could be probably 1 or 2 inches shorter than what we have here, so that's not so critical. It does have to have another piece of flat stock welded on it again for the purpose of being extremely tight inside this 2 by 2 here, and it's made out of the same material as that first vertical piece. It is 1.5" by 1.5" square tube, and it's 1/8 wall. And then for our platen here, we have a piece of angle iron, and this angle, what we started out with was a piece of angle that's I think we actually started out with a piece that was 3 by 2, a 3 by 2 angle, and I believe it's 1/4 inch thick. You can see that there, it's 1/4 inch thick. We took some off of this edge because we want this edge nice and clean running along the edge of the belt, and then we had this notch that we cut out too so that we could work both sides of this but still retain this this structure here for our platen so that it's rigid. The whole length of this piece of angle is 13 inches. And just have to take some time and get your bolts centered and right. But you can see that 13 inches there. It is about 1 3/4 inches where this horizontal piece welds on to this platen angle. All right, so I'm going to slide this platen back in. Tighten it down. Then we're going to go to our rest here. The rest is, we have the original rest underneath here. As you can see, there was a piece of angle iron that we used down there. We made a little bit of a modification for our purposes here in our shop, and what we wanted to be able to do is we wanted to be able to adjust the angle on this rest up and down so that we could adjust for the angle on our bevel. And what we've done is we use a piece of angle iron to clamp our knife to, and then what happens is we can actually adjust our angles here, and that raises, I'll see if I can demonstrate it for you. It's backed off a little bit now, but this raises, you can see it actually raising now this table to change the angle that it would be on the belt. And so we can set this and get the right angle for our bevels, and then we can work back and forth, and we increase the size with this piece of plate as well. And I'm going to have my son get up here, show you the size that we made. It's 18 inches long, and it's 4 inches wide, basically, a piece of plate. And what we did is we just, if you look around the back side here, we just welded some hinges on it so that it would allow for that, that angle to be changed. And that's been a tremendous help for us in grinding on the knives. And then once you're done grinding with that angle, you just back it off, and you got a nice flat big bench there as well, or you can take it out and just use it straight on the platen. So that's basically the dimensions. The only other thing that we I guess missed on dimension wise is this piece here it is an 1.25 by 1.25 square tube, and it slides in the 1.5 by 1.5, and it actually fits nice and tight. I believe it is a piece of thin wall, 1.25 by 1.25 thin wall, so it fits perfect in the 1.5 by 1.5 1/8-inch wall. And once again, another cinch down here that we use for our rest. I had to make a slight modification here and take this down because it was interfering with this. But if I were to do this all over again, I would move this cinch over here about 1.5 inches, just so I could have more leverage on the handle here and wouldn't have had to cut that off. But for what it's for, it works tremendously. I'll go ahead and throw a belt on it one more time so you guys can see it work. And we will give you a brief demonstration. Check our tracking on that. Looks like we're fairly close on there. All right, we're going to turn this thing on. Check our tracking. I'll show you the tracking adjustment there. You can see with just a slight movement. You see it moving the belt back and forth. All right. That's a piece of 36 grit sandpaper on a 2x72 belt grinder, and it's running just as smooth as can be. We could make a little demonstration. Let's see here. Here's a blade that we're grinding on right now. That was a piece of tool steel that we actually had pulled out of the forge. You could see the grind on it there. This is a little bit of a rough piece of steel. It's not just a stock removal type, real straight flat stock that we had here. This is one that we'd forged. And so there's quite a bit of work to be done on it. But nonetheless, you can see that it does a tremendous job. We've been grinding on the other side a little bit, clean it up. That's a kitchen knife that we're going to be making for Christmas present. And looking forward to completing that task. Other than that, we've showed you the dimensions there, and as far as how to get the belt right, these dimensions here between the two wheels, pretty standard dimension here. What I've got there is about 11 inches between the two axles. And once you determine that, I mean, some guys have more or less there. Once you determine that, you'll be able to determine what your structure is here by the size of your belt. And you'll be able to make some adjustments here by where you mount your motor back and forth on the table. I recommend getting a really good solid piece of steel to mount your motor on, your whole structure on, welding it down to the table, and that's what we've done here. So other than that, we've done this belt grinder up, and I hope that this is going to be a help to you, because it's been a tremendous help to us. And if you build one like it, send us a note and let us know, and take a video or pictures of it, and that'll be tremendous. Hope it's a help to somebody, because it's been a tremendous help to us. And other than that, I think that's about it for this one. We're going to be posting another video probably in the next couple days of some forge work that we're doing, and my son will be doing a forged cross that we've just decided to start doing. Here's a new project for us. But if you have any more questions, just feel free to shoot us a comment, and we'll hope to try to respond to those as soon as we possibly can. Other than that, this is CA Mouflage Knives, and happy to be of whatever service we can be to you. I hope you enjoyed the video, and God bless.